Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies Football Show here on NBC Sports Radio with me, Robbie Mustoe, and him, Robbie Apr, where we react to all the big stories in the Premier League and England. And there certainly is a big story tomorrow as Arsene Wenger takes his Arsenal team for the last time to Old Trafford to face Jose Mourinho's Manchester United. But before that, we'll talk that later in the show. Today was more about the teams at the bottom of the league table trying to avoid relegation. And for me, Robbie, the biggest game today, maybe the weekend, was at Southampton, St Mary's Stadium, to see if they could beat South Coast rivals Bournemouth to make them a better chance of getting out of it, but also maybe more importantly, bringing lots of others into that relegation picture. And they got the victory. What did you think to the game?
Well, absolutely. And Mark Hughes echoed your words before the game. He said this is the biggest game of his managerial career, wow. This game. That's how big he saw it, Rob. And he said it's black and white. Simply have to win. There's no shades of grey. And in some respects, Rob, I thought he put it on the players in a positive way, as if to say, let's not kid ourselves. We're in it. And if we lose today, we have to start thinking about championship. And in fairness to his group, we got a performance. We haven't seen too many of those. Mark Hughes got a win. He hasn't seen too many of them, whether he's manager of Southampton or Stoke. We got goals, and it wasn't Charlie Austin. Two from Tadic, which was nice. Yeah. And I tell you what else we got, Robbie, for this game, which I saw, which we haven't seen for a long time and been critical. We saw some bodies being thrown on the line. We saw some good defending. We saw some great goalkeeping. And Southampton, off the back of one performance, Rob, and one result, have given themselves a chance.
I'll tell you what else we saw today, Rob, that we haven't seen. And it's something that I thought about before the game and what Mark Hughes, as the new manager recently, hasn't brought. And that was emotion. I thought there was some emotion today. A sense of desperation, a sense of, listen, it's about now or never. And there was emotion in the way that they played. There was emotion in the stadium that drove them forward. And finally, Mark Hughes has got a little bit of something out of this team where you're right. Defensively, they were stronger. Attacking-wise, Dusan Tadic stepped up and took responsibility, particularly with his second goal, and went through and scored by himself. So, an incredible victory that was badly needed. It struggled at point. They looked like they were going to throw it all away. Bournemouth side kind of do that to you. You know, they come on late in the game. He makes a lot of changes, but they held on critically this time. And I think
it's interesting, Rob. I just want to go and revisit back the emotion thing. You know, I've just said, and I read a few quotes from Mark Hughes about it being the biggest game of his career, about we got to win. It's black and white, and that emotion. And the emotion you're talking about, and I just want to make sure I'm completely with it. I think sometimes managers have to be careful of putting too much of that on players, and it can inhibit some players.
Sometimes,
I talk about
games,
my time,
some teams.
And some players. I remember at Wimbledon, Rob, when we were in a relegation fight, and some good players who were in that team couldn't really handle, and it was really quite startling. The emotion of relegation almost kind of inhibited them, stopped them being themselves. People got frightened of what the outcome could be. And that's where I think, as a manager, you've got to balance it up. And there's not every time you can go that route. But obviously, Mark Hughes decided today it was all or nothing, and he got the right response.
You came up with a line, Rob, about Southampton. They're sleepwalking to relegation, right? And it's a great way to describe the way that they got into trouble. So in this case, for me, they need poking. They need some emotion. They need to get the finger out of the, and get going here. And I think today was the first time that I had a sense of positive momentum. And I know that comes from a victory, but even at the start of the game, the stands were full. You know, there's flags and banners, and there was a sense of the importance of the game, which I think helped them. Now, going forward, can they take that on? How important, my friend, is momentum, given the remaining fixtures and some of the others? Is it everything?
It's everything down there. And once, those Southampton players will, for the first time in maybe 2 or 3 months, possibly, be starting to think, we can get out of this. They'll be starting to look at the 3 fixtures. Everton away, Swansea away, Man City last day. We don't know what Man City will be, what shape they'll be in. Will they be still chasing records, etc.? So you take nothing for granted. So let's think of Everton and Swansea.
Well, what do you think to Everton? It's a
Southampton,
point. Is that a
Southampton
point?
Southampton at the best can go to Everton and win, Rob. Can go to Everton and win. Everton are trying under Sam. I know Sam's trying for his job, but if they get on top of the game and score early and can dominate a bit of possession, I've seen Everton roll over. I'm not convinced Everton are that motivated. They're not chasing anything. They're not
But they're
going
in
to
good
go out
form,
the league
Rob. Sam
themselves.
Allardyce has got them in good form. They're winning
They
games
are in
at the
good
moment.
form, but
they're
I tell you
finishing
what,
strong.
we said, and we looked at the Southampton side and said, they have the capability of putting a 2 or 3 game winning run together, and that's what gave them a chance. They could go to Everton and get a result. We're talking of Southampton, what we've seen and what we know. Think about a confident Southampton, a Southampton on the front foot.
I don't know, Rob. I don't know if I can see it. I don't know. I understand today. I understand the confidence. I understand that. But they've won 2 games in the last 22.
Correct.
Everton away is difficult. Then the humongous game on Tuesday, the 8th of May, Swansea versus Southampton. So that's Swansea away.
But
so
you've got to win. You've got to keep that. You've got to keep that euphoria going, Rob. You've got to almost oversell it. And that's what I think I'm trying to do. You oversell to these players. You get Tadic saying how well he can do. You start thinking of Redmond, can he do more? Charlie Austin, can he be a bit sharp and take a couple of chances? Because there's enough in that team. There's enough in that group. If they come away with a draw, listen, they take a point. But you go up there thinking, if we can win again, God, that's enough. Bring 2 or 3 other clubs right into it.
Big if, though, Rob, innit? Big if.
Of course,
if you changed, I mean, is your gut feeling saying that this momentum will take them to safety?
I think they've got a chance, Rob, because of what happened today and the other couple of teams down there who, A, haven't got goal scorers, B, are struggling a little bit themselves. And I'm talking about Huddersfield and Swansea in that one.
Yeah, should we move on to Liverpool versus Stoke?
Yeah.
Because Stoke is another team that needed something today.
Yeah.
Of course, 3 points would have been fantastic, but realistically, against Liverpool at the moment, that's really hard to fathom or try and see that. The 0-0 it was today. Paul Lambert, again, very emotional on the sideline at one point. Yeah. I think he thought that his team had nicked it with a goal that they missed out on late on. What did you think to this game?
Well, interesting, first of all. Let's talk about Liverpool and starting lineup, and I know.
Yeah, what do you think to that?
Some people would say. I mean, I don't agree with it, Rob. And I think I've said before, Mo Salah might be going for records, and I know he had the chance at first 5 minutes, could have got the 32nd Premier League goal of the season. He clips over the goalkeeper. We all look to the net, and somehow it goes down the side. I still think the Champions League on Wednesday night is so important to this football club. I wouldn't have played some of those players. Firmino, Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, possibly. I know he's a young boy and he's got legs, but Rob, this is a huge game. Now, I know Klopp likes a rhythm, maybe listens to players, thinks about injuries, and I get that. But if it was me, I don't start so strong.
But they're still their top 4 is not guaranteed, and they have to go to Chelsea, Rob. You know, on the Sunday, the May 6th. Now that. You know, if they win the game in hand,
they're 6 points ahead of they're six points ahead of Chelsea.
Chelsea got a game in hand. So if they win that, they're 3 behind. Then they play Liverpool. If they win that, then they're equal points. So I think it's a really tough one for Jurgen Klopp to sort of assume that they're going to be okay for the top 4 or going for the Champions League.
I would just like to think that his squad is big enough to take Stoke City at home, and there should be good enough players within that squad to be able to get them a 1 or 2-0 victory.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I mean, why isn't Dominic Solanke playing?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
Ben Woodburn,
if you're not playing these guys now, when are you going to play them? They shouldn't really be at the football club. If when you need them, you need to rest players, you think the drop-off's that big that you can't afford to play them. Listen, we'll know on Wednesday night whether it was the right decision or not. From Stoke's point of view, Rob, bit of same old, really. I mean, don't play badly. You know, better finishing in the last third might give themselves a chance. Get a point, you've got to be happy with that. But a point in their situation still keeps them anchored to the bottom of the table.
They've got to win the 2 remaining games of
absolutely.
Stoke. And that's
Palace the next game coming
home.
up, innit? I mean, don't win that, forget about it, you're done and dusty.
Yeah, they've got to win that one, then they've got to go to Swansea. I mean, that's the thing about this Premier League season. It's going to come down now. Because of that Southampton result, it's going to come down to the last few games where they play each other. And I just wonder if Stoke City have got enough in terms of their team, in terms of Peter Crouch or Mam Diouf. Can Shaqiri be the guy again to get them to results? Because they're struggling. They haven't won a game for a long period of time.
Here's the headline, Robbie Mustoe. Sexy Stoke win at Swansea to stay in the Premier League. Remember, you heard it first.
Yeah.
So, for the first time under Mark Hughes, the Saints go marching on to 3 points, while Stoke did okay again, but didn't win again, as Liverpool drew a blank before their big Champions League semi-final in Rome. Next, we'll take a look at one team desperate to stay out the bottom 3 versus another team desperate to climb into the top 4. You're listening to Two Robbies Football Show on NBC Sports Radio. We'll be back in a tick.
Welcome back to the Two Robbies Football Show. Now, just before we move on, Rob, from the Liverpool-Stoke game, there was a refereeing decision that I think has split a lot of people, both Carl Martino and myself, and I'm pretty sure Jim Beglin in commentary thought that the referee's call of a no call, not a penalty, was correct. But I get back on my Twitter timeline, I have a text from my buddy Steve Nicol, of course, a former Liverpool player, thought that it was. My take was his hand is kind of expected position, and the ball was flashed across so quickly, it was really hard for him to avoid the contact with the ball on the arm. What did you think?
Respectfully, slightly disagree with that. I just felt that the arm, yes, was in an unexpected position, but it was almost as though he used that to his
position. It was an expected position.
Position, yeah. But he almost used that to his advantage, as though he could have looked to try and get his arm out the way, Rob, is what I'm saying. I think he's. I don't think it was hit that hard. There was enough distance between the ball and him, and he kind of moved his body towards it, but kept his arm in the same plane, as if to say, well, my arm isn't coming up. And I don't know. My first instinct was penalty. I saw it a couple of times, and I still think that Liverpool were a little harshly done by it.
And when you consider the James Milner one that was given, that's what I've got on my timeline. Everybody's giving me example. Well, hang on a minute, what was different? And I get it, and it's subjective and it's really tight. But I thought that was a little bit harsh on James Milner. But I guess it's what we all see is deliberate.
We wouldn't have a radio show without things like that, mate. So hopefully they continue, and Liverpool, get them on bigger days. Maybe they might need one in Rome in Champions League on Wednesday. Let's move forward today, mate. Swansea versus Chelsea. Chelsea got the 1-0 courtesy of Cesc Fabregas. I think it's 50th Premier League goal for Cesc. Milestone for him. In the end, pretty routine for Chelsea. Weren't sort of pushed too far. Second half dropped off a little bit of their intensity. Swansea, a little bit of worry for me, Rob, about them in the last third of the pitch. The RU brothers, Jordan's got a few goals. Andre struggled since he's come back. Are they going to get the goals? And I just kind of took my mind back to last season when they had Fernando Llorente, who was somebody who they could rely on to get them goals and got them out of the trouble. They don't seem to have that guy at the moment.
No, they don't. I mean, Wilfred Bonney was brought into the club to do that. He's out with injury. Chelsea... Sometimes we thought that Olivier Giroud deserves to be the starting striker. It didn't play so well today. I mean, there's times when he links up with Hazard a few times. It looks kind of good. I seem to think Chelsea, Rob, they kind of drift out of the game. They fall away in the second half.
Like they get
disinterested
it's like, okay, this one's an easy one. We're going to win this one.
And they rely on defending.
Giroud's one of those players, isn't he? I think he must be at times a manager's nightmare. Starting from the bench comes on the scores, better. You think you've got to play. And playing from the start, and you think, I know why now I start him on the bench. You're just never quite sure with Giroud.
But I guess they're still chasing down Spurs. They've still got a chance to make the top four. And, of course, the FA Cup final Manchester United at the end of the season. So they could finish with a pretty decent season.
Top four in FA Cup winners.
That would be pretty good,
pretty good as a leaving present.
What about Swansea, Rob? They got enough momentum. I know the struggles up front, but I think when you look at their remaining fixtures, which are Bournemouth away, and then Southampton at home, which is huge, and then Stoke at home. You kind of see some points there for them, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And the manager, with the analogies and the jokes and the thing, I think he's got a bit of enough about him, Rob, to find a result, at least in one of those. I mean, 4 points from those 3 games probably would be enough. And you tend to think that I just think this guy's got a one-game sort of win in him. He seems to know how to push the buttons of the players. If he can get them defensively right again, goals worry me a little bit where they'll come from on the team, but down the line, listen, if they're home to Stoke and they have to win to stay in the league, I think they take it, and I think they'd be confident that they get the result.
I think what we're saying is that this is all gearing up so great for the last few weeks of the season. And from Swansea, let's go on to a team that's newly promoted in Huddersfield Town, and today was an opportunity to make themselves pretty much safe with 3 points that have jumped up to 38 points and would have been okay, but they lost at home to Everton, and with the information knowing that their last 3 games are away to Manchester City, away to Chelsea, and at home to Arsenal Football Club.
Arsene Wenger's
they are
last
banging
game
trouble.
in charge, by the way.
So, how are Huddersfield going to stay up?
The problem for Huddersfield, Robert, is that they've never, a little bit unlike Newcastle, and maybe we can put Brighton in that category now, although, 37 points, they've still maybe got a point or two to gain. But Huddersfield have never been able to just get themselves far enough away where we're not talking about them in the relegation fight. They had that terrible run where they couldn't sort of put any win together. It's drawn them back down, and now they're back in. They're right back amongst it, Rob. And you say, looking at the fixtures that they've got, in comparison, say, to Swansea, you've got Bournemouth, Southampton, Stoke versus Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. I know which one I'd rather have. And you've got a team that just, in terms of quality, in terms of just a little bit of experience and know-how, just worries me at this stage of the season, who they can turn to, what can you rely on? What's the bit that you know is definitely going to make sure you stay in this league the next time around?
They're the joint lowest scorers in the Premier League, Huddersfield Town. And we've given praise
Steve
to David.
Mounier, is he?
Steve Mounier is the main man up front, but he's streaky. He gets a couple of goals and he doesn't score for another 6 or 7 or 8 games. So David Wagner's done a brilliant job at this football club, and we know that they're well organised. We know that they defend pretty much, okay, and the atmosphere and everything is good. But given those games, given this result today, given the momentum, and given the lack of goals, it's really hard to see where they get another point. Assuming that they get 1 point, that's 36. That might not be enough.
Let me go another way. Let me go positive Huddersfield, because I think we've got to try and get positive. When they get it on at the John Smith Stadium, Rob, it can be...
But it wasn't today.
No,
they
it
needed
wasn't
it
today. I get that. But let's just say they get it on at home, the last game to Arsenal, who are a long way from London. It's Arsenal's last day. They may be in or out the Europa League, so whether they're in, their mind's on that. If they're out, well, it's the end of the season. They're not finishing top 4. I'm giving them a bit of hope, Rob. When they put it on and Wagner gets it going and the players are all at it, they can create an atmosphere that's upset some of the bigger boys. I just think that's the hope. That's got to be the hope, that they can put one of those days together and find a result that might bang them out of trouble. Because in a way, Rob, I'd be really sorry for
it's tough,
because
mate.
they've worked
so what? They
hard.
all work hard. It's tough for anybody, any team.
Give them a break. Yeah, but look at the wage salary. You're the one who'll always say wage salary. Well, look at the wage salary. Look at the transfer budget. Look at what this guy's had to do. If Southampton go down, you know what? Nothing. Blame themselves. If Stoke City go down, blame themselves.
That's a good point.
If Huddersfield go down, you know what? I think we've got to feel a little bit sorry for a guy who's giving it his all, and his team might just not be good enough.
What about Sam Allardyce? Just before we go to break, Rob, Big Sam. He's getting results, by the way.
Survey says we don't want you in our
Well,
club,
I tell you
apparently.
what. He's making an argument to say, you know what, maybe I'm not the most popular guy at this football club. Maybe we don't play the most expansive football, but I tell you what, I'm getting you results. And on the back of that, I believe I should absolutely be at this football club for next season. And, it's going to be hard if they continue. They finish strong the last, 3 or 4 games they have now. I mean, I want to say he's deserved it. I want to say he's deserved to stay on.
And I'm totally agreeing with you, but I don't think, regardless of what Sam Allardyce does, he's going to take Everton forward.
So you think Everton? What do you mean?
I think Everton have decided. I think the group of fans. I think probably some people in the board decided that we want a different style, a different manager going a different way, regardless of what Sam's done. Praise Sam, pat him on the back. I don't think he gets the job, Rob. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. So Chelsea get a win, at least for now. Close the gap to 2 points as they chase Spurs for the 4th Champions League spot. Swansea, they still got work to do. Just 1 point out of the bottom 3. Next up, we'll look at West Brom. They keep getting more under Darren as Palace hit 5. I'm Earl, Keys Musto, together with the 2 Robbies on NBC Sports Radio. We'll be back in a minute.
Welcome back to the 2 Robbies Football Show here on NBC Sports Radio with me, Robbie Mustoe, and him, Robbie Earl. Now, next game, my friend, up to the northeast, Newcastle United 0, West Bromwich Albion 1. And what a job, by the way, that Darren Moore, caretaker manager now at this football club, come in to replace the fired Alan Pardew. What a job he's doing. They beat Man United away. They drew with Liverpool at home. They now beat Newcastle away. My question to you is, what if they would have picked this guy as a new manager before they picked Alan Pardew? Is Pardew a disastrous move that's cost them? I mean, it's a great result today, but they're probably going to get relegated. Was that a huge mistake?
In the end, Rob, I think so. And there was talk, wasn't there, when Alan Pardew was in charge, that there was a couple of kind of emergency board meetings and he was given the vote of confidence and it was extended. And in the end, it looks like that extension could well cost the team the ability to stay in the league. I mean, I read today, let's just sort of think of what Darren Moore's done in the last few weeks. He's beaten 2 managers who've both been Champions League winners, who've both been Europa League winners in Rafa and Jose Mourinho. I mean, it's ridiculous what he's doing. He's got the team playing. It looks like he's got a little bit of spirit engineered between the fans and the players again. And, you know, sometimes he hasn't particularly come across with all the tactics and the numbers and the systems. It looks like, you know, sometimes simple things in football clubs, get people in the right position, you know, work them properly in training, get them happy, get a little bit of spirit together and see where you can go. Now, some respect, Rob, the pressure's off them. They're almost so far bottom that, you know, it's a little bit of a chance to go and show what they can do. Because everybody's now clamouring, you know, give Darren Moore the job. And listen, I would be an advocate of that as well. But I'm also an advocate of give him the job if he's the right man. We saw Craig Shakespeare come in at Leicester and do a similar thing, and then he was out the door 3-4 months later. Supposedly players weren't happy. So I think you've got to put a balance to things, but there's no doubt him going in and the timing of it is just, suspended the time. I think, you know, West Brom still go down, but unfortunately for their fans' point of view, they'd like to a game or two earlier.
I feel really sorry for the West Brom fans. I feel really sorry for them because they've had to, in some ways, suck up. I mean, listen, some of them might want Tony Pulis back now, but there's no question that the club, the results dropped right off under Tony Pulis. And why
they've gone down with Pulis, though.
Well, I didn't think they should have fired him. I think, you know, the football's not great and you want to change, you wait till the summer because he's never been relegated as a manager. So my answer to that is no, I don't think they would have. So, but why I'm so sad, Rob, is that there's wins in this team. There's wins in this team. So when the West Brom fans watch the side right now with these difficult games and getting wins and getting results and getting clean sheets, they have to be thinking, wow, this team, this squad is good enough. There are players and combination of players that can get the job done and could have got up. So I just feel really sorry for them because they looked an awful team a few weeks ago under Alan Pardew. But now with a different manager, a different simple philosophy, as you said, they're winning games. It must be heartbreaking to know that there are wins in this team, but it's not going to count. They're not going to stay up. It's just really sad for West Brom.
If there is a good way or a right way to go down, I think you'd say West Brom are doing that, Rob, though, with a bit of fight, with a bit of spirit and hanging on as long as they can. Let's move to another team who, remarkable result today, Crystal Palace 5, Leicester City 0. Let's just take a moment and talk about Roy Hodgson and the job that he's done at this football club. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
No, it really is. I mean, 5-0 today, and just... I think we knew that the players were at this club to pull some results together. Now, given the first 7 games, no goals scored, no points. Yeah. You know, you're looking at a short season that Roy Hodgson, has to come in and get the job done. I mean, he's done it fantastically well. Now, you know, when you have got the likes of Ruben Loftus-Cheek and you've got Johan Cabaye and you've got Wilfried Zaha and Andros Townsend and Christian Benteke, there is enough there to get the results. But even so, he's still done a brilliant job, Roy Hodgson.
Absolutely, and I put a tweet out there today, Rob, and I said what Roy Hodgson's done with this group of players deserves to be part of the Manager of the Year conversation. And we got a number of tweeted replies. One I particularly like from Michael Nathanson said he's done a phenomenal job guiding them through many injuries and could have had more points. Hard to think Pep won't win it, though, especially if he breaks the points and goal record. Yeah,
John Patrick Manning tweets to say, wonderful, Roy. And JT Fuentes, again, look at the numbers. And a 5 spot today, Roy is God. So there's no question. Experience, know-how, calmness under pressure, man management, I'd have to think, with some of the players in the squad. And this team is safe now and having a marvellous season considering where they were.
Well, you know, Robbie Muster, when I'm not on the show, I'm always at home thinking, right, Musty's on the radio, how can I get him? So here's the big question for today. We're going to, for the purposes of the exercise, take Pep out of the equation. Let Pep Guardiola, he's won it, the records, he gets manager. But let's just say Pep wasn't there. In terms of Sean Dyche, Chris Hughton, Rafa Benitez, Roy Hodgson, who's done a better job with their group of players under the circumstances?
Wow, that's a really, really tough one. I mean,
that's why we get paid.
Yeah, but that really is. I mean, it could absolutely be any of these.
But where do you get bigger affinity to?
I still feel Rafa Benitez at Newcastle United with a squad that a lot of these players were there that got relegated 2 seasons ago. He had very little money to strengthen the squad in the summer. And January brought some players in. Dubravka, the goalkeeper, that's done really well, but Slimani's done nothing. For them to be top 10 right now and looking like a top 10 finish, I would probably just go Rafa Benitez. What do you think?
Roy runs a close second because I think,
of course, yeah.
because of the 7-game start and the lack of confidence and the injuries. By the way, Rob, they've had a lot of injuries. Crystal Palace. Do you know who else deserves a mention? And Sean Dyche is the obvious one with them.
Yeah,
Chris Hughton and Brighton Football Club would have been in everybody's bottom 3 at the start of the season. Everybody's bottom 3, Rob. And at the moment, they're sitting 14th in the table, 37 points. Probably need another point or two just to be totally sure. But, 37 may even keep them up this year. For Chris Hughton, with that group of players, what he's brought in and what he's done, I mean, we probably need to give 4 awards and give them all one. Because Sean Dyche, Burnley 54 points, is it now? I mean, that's ridiculous for a club of that size as well.
Crystal Palace, Rob, and the outstanding player is Wilfried Zaha.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been amazing for them, for this football club to keep them up.
Yeah.
Is he too good for Crystal Palace?
Yes. Is the answer. Simple answer. Why do I say yes? Because Wilfried Zaha could go to Tottenham and bring them something that they may need in terms of goal, pace and athleticism on one side of the pitch. Wilfried Zaha possibly now could revisit Man United.
I don't know about that.
And he could. What? Wilfried Zaha's a worse player than Jesse Lingard?
I'm just not sure he jumps to that level. I'm just not sure that he jumps to that level. At Crystal Palace, he is the star player, and he's done brilliant things, and he's created and scored goals. I just don't know whether he's that great to be at the top 2 or 3 clubs of the Premier League.
We're not talking Manchester United; they're very, very.
Well, yeah,
best
but it's still.
Of course, it's Man United. But I'm saying is Jesse Lingard that much better player than?
Well, he gives you something
Zaha?
different. He gives you reliability. He's an up and down midfield player. He's less flair, but he gives you spectacular goals in big games. He's reliable in terms of defensively. He works his socks off. He's the fittest and quickest player at the football club. So I think they're a little bit different.
He's a worse player than Marouane Fellaini then.
Well, yeah, but that's different, Rob. That's different position.
Plenty of Man United
it's a different position.
But there's plenty of Man United players who are not at the very top of the game. I'm just saying that.
Would you rather have him than Rashford and Martial?
Maybe not, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't buy him if he came available and he could bring something to my team. I might sell Martial. That looks like it might.
I like your Spurs shout. I like your Spurs shout. They're crying out for that sort of player, a dribbler. That's what they really need, I think. And, whether it happens or not, I don't know. And I'm not sure how he himself feels as a player.
By the way, Palace fans wouldn't be happy talking about Zaha leaving. They want to keep him and build the team around him. He's a local boy, come good, and long may it continue. So, West Brom extend their Premier League life even for another week as Palace jump to 11th in the table after giving the rest of the league a 7-game start. After the break, we'll take a look at Man City as they continue to chase records away at West Ham. And Arsene says au revoir to Old Trafford and Jose. This is the Two Robbies Football Show on NBC Sports Radio. Be back in a moment.
Welcome back to the Two Robbies Football Show. Now, Robbio, let's look ahead at the remaining games of this Premier League match weekend. And on Monday, Spurs host Watford. Tomorrow, there's 2 big games involving the Manchester teams. West Ham United host Manchester City in the earlier game. Coverage begins at 8 a.m. on NBCSN. And then after that, Man United versus Arsenal. Massive game as normal in that one. And kickoff is at 11:30 again on NBCSN. Now, West Ham United, Robbie, in my notes I've got leading into this game, other results, ? Pressure, ! Twice. So we have seen some results that puts West Ham United under pressure for the remaining few games of the season.
Yes, and West Ham, maybe if you're looking with the glass half full, you'd say we've got 4 games, we've got 35 points, and we should be okay. But when you think Manchester City come on Monday night, and listen, Sunday, and that's likely to be a defeat. Then all of a sudden 3 games left on 35 points, and if Southampton and if Swansea or if Huddersfield hit a little run, all of a sudden, Rob, West Ham, when we thought looked clear and out of it, could be drawn right back into the mire.
Yeah, I mean, they've got of course, Man City. Then after that, next weekend, they've got Leicester away. Maybe points there. Then they've got Manchester United at home. Real toughie. Then the last day of the season, they have Everton at home. And if West Ham go into that game, if they're in it, then that last day is going to be mental. It's going to be insane if West Ham and others are in it, because anything can happen on that final day. So they've got some work to do.
And by the way, that means Sam Allardyce returning back to West Ham, another club where he felt he wasn't particularly appreciated. He might just want to go to West Ham and put in a performance, not only for his own job at Everton, to let one or two people know, maybe including some West Ham fans who didn't appreciate the work he did there. So certainly not a gimme by any means for West Ham United. You get the sense they might need to get a couple of points before they get to the last day, because there's no guarantees against Everton.
Yeah, I mean, and in terms of form, 1 win in their last 7 matches, streaky sort of team. You know, Marko Arnautovic going up front has been really good work and decision by the manager David Moyes. Moyes himself is talking, you know, about staying for next season, whether they want him, whether he wants to stay at this club where the ownership is, you know, sometimes a little bit unreliable and a little bit kind of loose cannonish. So lots to play for. Can Arnautovic be the guy? You know, the pressure mounts at West Ham United, isn't it? At that London Stadium. It can be a, you know, this is Manchester City tomorrow's game. And
it can be a help or a hindrance, can't it, with this team? It's sometimes when it's buzzing and things are going well and the fans are into it, it feels like it, you know, there's a real connection. And other times, as we've seen on a couple of occasions this season, it can be a toxic place to play football.
You know, Man City, so champions going into the next game from being champions, Swansea at home, 5-0. Brilliant. Are they going to be motivated to break all the records that we've been talking about on our shows? Because that could drive them forward.
Now, isn't it? Yeah, I think so, Rob. I mean, I've talked about invincibles with Arsene Wenger recently. People talk about the treble team of Sir Alex. This will be the Centurions, the first team who've ever got 100 points in a Premier League season. Pep wants to come in, not only win the title, not only show he can play a different way, he wants to lay down some records, Rob, as a marker, so people remember this team, remember what he did in English football.
Absolutely. I mean, I think they're on pace to break these records, and one more win equals Chelsea's record of 30 out of 38. So just fascinating team, an amazing team. We'll talk further about City as the season wraps up.
Yeah, let's move it on to a big game tomorrow, Manchester United v Arsenal. It's the last time we're going to see Mourinho and Wenger on a touchline, certainly in English football. Jose was asked about his relationship with Arsenal in a press conference yesterday.
We had big matches, big fights, so thank you so much for that. Regret little negative episodes? Yes, I do, and probably he also does.
Well, I'm pleased that he said that, Rob, because the negative episodes were pretty nasty, and the specialist in failure that Jose Mourinho hit with Arsene Wenger, that was below the belt for me. I mean, it really was. It sounds like he's regretful.
Yeah, and Jose's done that once or twice, and he lets himself down when he does that. Certainly against Arsene Wenger, who, you know, came in and as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the things he's done in English football deserves better than that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in terms of the game, you know, I think Arsenal will make changes. Of course, it's around the Europa League games against Atletico Madrid, so they'll make changes. Manchester United, I think, with Jose, will want to win this game. They'll want to finish second place behind Manchester City as being the best of the rest, if you like. We'll see what happens with Alexis, whether he goes on. He had, of course, a really good FA Cup semi-final against Spurs at Wembley. I think you just still think there's a lot more to come from this United team. We kind of criticise, and players have been frustrated. But if there's a better Alexis, if there's a better Pogba, if there are a couple of new players that come into this football club, they can really challenge for the title next season, I think.
It could be exciting when you think of Liverpool, their progression. United with bringing players in and the better players playing to their potential. As you say, Alexis playing against Arsenal. And let's not forget, Rob, some of these United players, I think, are playing for FA Cup spots. I don't think that's given his first 11 in his mind yet, Jose Mourinho. So playing for places. And, you know, Arsene Wenger, for all the challenges and battles he's had at Old Trafford, he'll want to leave that place and put his mark as well. So while I'm sure Europa League's the big focus, he wants to go there. You know, whether it was Fergie in the dugout or now Jose Mourinho in the dugout, Arsene Wenger's a winner.
Yeah, he is, and he's talked about his relationship with Sir Alex Ferguson, saying it's a lot closer now, and he even talked about Jose, saying that he has a quote peaceful relationship with Jose Mourinho, which is kind of what we want to see. We want to see a little bit of respect at Old Trafford tomorrow, and to be fair, I think we will. I think Jose Mourinho will give Arsene Wenger a special embrace, or I think there will be a few words between the two, because I think they've got to appreciate each other and their desire and their, I don't know, the way that they want to protect their football clubs, and I think both of them have done a pretty good job over the years.
Absolutely. Both winners for their own clubs,
Yeah.
both legends for their own clubs. And like you say, I hope that we get a handshake and maybe a hug between the two. That would be nice. So that just leaves us time for a tweet of the day, and that goes to Michael Nathanson, who talked about Roy Hodgson's qualities and ability in guiding Palace out of trouble. So please make sure you direct message your address, Michael, and we'll get the 2 Robbie scarf in the post to you in the next couple of days. So, on a day when Southampton finally caught fire and got a Premier League win, that leaves 3 teams above them all feeling a little bit hot under the collar. Remember, for more debate, discussion and disagreement, make sure you subscribe to Apple Podcasts to download the 2 Robbies show. And if you like what you hear, please review the shows. And more importantly, tell us what team you support and why, and we'll read out the best couple of responses on our next Premier League podcast. And finally, just for me, thanks all the good folk at Culver City. You do a great job for us each and every week.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for listening to the show, and let us know your thoughts through social media. Certainly watch out for other 2 Robbies podcasts reacting to Premier League and European football news over the next few weeks. We'll skip next Saturday, but return on the Saturday before Championship Sunday for our last 2 Robbies football show of the season. So until then, it's good night from me.
And good night from him.
Good night.